What's up YouTube? I hope you're well. Thank you so much for coming back to the channel. My name is Jared Hamilton and thank you for making it to my corner of the internet. Now before we get into this video, be sure and subscribe and follow my channel. Leave me a comment below. Tell me whether you're into this kind of content or not. But yeah, let's get into this thing. Okay, so today's video is about my newest tattoo. What's funny is while I was getting it, I made basically an Instagram poll thing asking like, hey, would you guys want to see my like a more of a vlog of like the actual what all the meanings behind my new piece is, and most of you were like absolutely, and those of you who didn't, well, you guys can just go somewhere else. But basically the thing, give me some backstory on this tattoo. I've been wanting a sleeve for a while now. I've wanted some semblance of a sleeve. Now this isn't like a normal sleeve, like the whole inside of my arm doesn't have really anything. Like there's a little bit of carryover where like it comes over this way, but it's basically my tattoo artist was like, no, it's still considered a sleeve because it still goes from like all the way up here, all the way down to there. But basically I've been wanting this tree idea for like a couple years now. I wanted some semblance of a giant tree that just wraps up my entire arm. But there's actually like 7 pieces or like meanings, so to speak, within this piece. Because I think sleeves are awesome. I've always liked sleeves, but I've never wanted what I guess you would call a bumper sticker style sleeve. That's at least what my tattoo artist called it. Other people can pull these off. I've just never wanted one for me where it's like every meaning has it's like a sticker. Then the next one has a sticker. Then the next one's another one. And I would rather have one giant cohesive piece that represents all the facets instead of like 7 individual little tattoos. So that's where this came from. But the really cool part was I didn't even really know what all I wanted. I just knew some facets of it. So the tattoo artist that I ended up using, she's a very artsy person. And I basically said, hey, look, I want, and I gave her like the pieces I want. I said, I want a tree growing up my arm. I want the roots exposed. I want a bird on a broken branch. I want an axe stabbed into the bottom of it. I want an acorn in it somewhere, but I want it to look good. I don't want it to look like a horror movie, but I don't want it to be like a feminine tree. I want it to be, and then I want like an eagle on the branch. And then I'm like, you do what you do best. And she came out with this, and this is actually very similar to what I was envisioning, and she just totally killed it, and I'm super happy with it. Because for me, this is just a giant anchor, or triggers, or whatever, because that's all it really is an anchoring system or a trigger for me. That's what all these meanings mean, is that it basically helps me, as I see it throughout my day, it triggers its meaning. So that way I don't drift one way or the other. And I actually do a lot of teaching from it. Like with my coaching, when I'm explaining stuff to people and teaching things to clients, I actually refer to this a lot. Like in the way your thought process works and your brain works and in actions and getting to the roots of problems and all this stuff. And I actually teach from this a lot now, which is cool. But otherwise, let's get into it. Meaning number 1 with this tattoo is the whole tree, okay? It's the concept of either you're growing or you're dying. I don't know why for me that I've always thought of a tree or plants when I would hear that term, but otherwise it's one of the most profound and simple things I've ever been told that stuck with me when I was younger is we either grow or die. So for me, when I would be noticing my life was plateauing, or I wasn't as happy, or I wasn't as confident, or I wasn't as whatever, I would notice I quit growing. Things like the people you hang out with, the conversations you have, the books you're reading, what you're putting into your mind, you are either as a person growing or dying. And just the big semblance of this entire piece is grow or die. Just grow or die. Because that's the thing is, for me, that made such an imprint on me when I first heard it, like when I was like 22, I think. I'm 29 right now. So like when I was like 22, a mentor of mine just kept pushing it into my head that like, hey, we grow or die. It's one of those things that just stuck with me. And so whenever there's a problem, I see it's because I'm not growing. If you take anything in life, it either grows or dies. Nothing sits still. Literally, you could take anything and it is either growing and moving forward or dying and decaying. And I don't want me to do that. That could represent your physical body, that could represent your mind, that could represent your marriage, that could represent your relationships, that could represent your emotions. Like you could apply that principle to anything. You know what I mean? Number 2, this is one of my favorites, the acorn. I have one teeny tiny acorn in this tree. It's actually right there. I don't know if you can see that. I'll put a B-roll clip of it up close, but I have an acorn right here at the top of the tree. because this is a big deal. This is a thought process thing. So basically what happens is where the eggcorn piece comes in is for me, it's controlling your thoughts. What I teach a lot is the concept of like, number one, we don't have to believe everything we think, but you're not your thoughts unless you plant your thoughts as a seed, fertilize them with emotion, and now they're a big tree. Now you have issues. Like if every thought is an eggcorn, every focus you have is an eggcorn. Well, eggcorns get planted and they turn into trees, right? So the question is, what are you planting, right? Do you have all these negative thoughts that you're choosing to entertain and choosing to hold on to and choosing to plant? Then you have a forest of negativity and then your life just sucks. Or if every thought you think is like Napoleon Hill calls them thought seeds, what are you planting? If you think about, if every thought you think and choose to focus on is a seed, what kind of forest do you have? This was one of the most profound things. It was when I first started getting into Napoleon Hill's work, and he used the term thought seeds, and I'm like, oh my gosh, that's profound. The thing is, we are not our thoughts. We are bigger than our thoughts until you let your thoughts get bigger than you, right? And for me, it's like this. If a little kid runs up to me and says, Jared, you're purple, you would think about it. You go, no, I'm not, because you took that eggcorn, because you're bigger than the eggcorn, and go, and it's gone. But what happens if I let that thought get bigger than me? I'm sure some of you watching this have struggled with this, and I have too, where it's like, maybe I'm not good enough. You know, what if this doesn't work out? You could take that thought and go and get rid of that eggcorn, or what do we do though? Oh, maybe I'm not good enough. You planted it. You know, maybe I'm really not meant for this. Now the tree's growing. You know what? I don't think I have what it takes. Now the tree's bigger than me. Now you have this giant fucking massive tree that's bigger than you. And guess what? It's really hard to get rid of it now. Think of you're bigger than an eggcorn. It's so easy to throw an eggcorn. You're like, no, and get rid of it. But how do you get rid of a tree? You have to dig it up at its roots. Getting deeper into this tattoo, you have to dig it up at its roots, and it's a much bigger ordeal, and then you have a giant hole left. You know what I mean? That you have to deal with. So this is the concept of everything is a seed. Every thought you think, the words you say, the beliefs you have. The belief part is where it gets really deep. Everything about our subconscious actions validates our subconscious beliefs. So for me, I used to sabotage a lot of my results in life because I thought I was unworthy. Well, if I have this belief of unworthiness, it doesn't matter what kind of success I get on top of it because I sabotage it. I teach this in weight loss a lot, where if someone believes, their deep down belief is they won't be able to make it and don't have what it takes to lose the weight they want to lose, well, then no wonder you're sabotaging it, is because you let that eggcorn grow into this massive tree. Number 3, you'll notice on the tattoo, there's some falling leaves. You can see there's one here in my pit. You have one back here. There's a few more that you can see. Like, actually, I should probably roll my sleeve up. So you can see a lot of these, but you see there's some leaves that's falling. Well, it's because everything in certain things, especially as we grow, the whole concept of grow or die, has seasons of death. If the goal is to become the new you have to let the old you die. But too often, we're so held on to the old us, right? It's been with us since we were like little. And if we hold on to the old identities, the old beliefs, the old thoughts, the old standards, well, we can't have the new come in. Dying hurts, right? Like this is something that hit me really hard when I remember it very vividly. I was on a walk and I was struggling with some stuff just in my own life. And it was because I was growing and hitting these next levels in my life. But I'm like, I still struggled with like the old unworthiness, the old story, the old beliefs I used to have about myself. And I was just fighting these, but then it hit me. I was listening to a song, I think it was by a band called Need to Breathe. And they basically mentioned in that song, and it just hit me. And I got emotional while I was on this walk. And it hit me, it was like, the old you has to die. And dying fucking hurts. I don't think they said those exact words, but dying hurts. Dying has grief. There's an old proverb or an old philosopher saying is for the new phoenix to come out, it burns the old phoenix in the process, right? Or like, imagine like the analogy of a butterfly. Imagine the butterfly scared about letting the old cocoon go, right? It was in the cocoon for how long? And it knows as soon as it comes out, the old cocoon dies. The old safe place dies. But imagine a butterfly not coming out of it and going with everything it could be. Right? You wouldn't see its beauty. You wouldn't see what it's evolved into. Well, we do that. I teach from this, but I got this for me, right? These are my own reminders not to stay stuck in my own head, not to stay stuck in my own place, and to keep growing and letting parts of me die. Part of us growing as people is for us to embrace the newer version of us, because that's all we're really chasing, right? The most optimal, highest potential version of us. Well, that means the old us has to die. Number 4, the roots. Okay, I was very, very specific with my tattoo artist that I wanted the roots showing. So you can see them right in here. That I really wanted the roots showing, because how do you fix anything? At the root cause. I teach this in weight loss. Most people think that their issues are, let's say they're eating too many calories. It's like, okay, you're eating too many calories, but if we dig deeper, it's because you're sabotaging yourself. So we have to go from like, okay, but why do we eat too many calories? Oh, because you don't believe you're worth losing the weight. Oh, and you believe that you never will have what it takes. So the reason you're eating too many calories is because it's a self-sabotage mechanism, not because you're just randomly eating too many calories. I would see this in business, right? I would like do really well in business and then I would sabotage it. And I would be doing really well in business and then I would sabotage it. So I could either look at like, well, maybe this surface level issue is what's wrong. It's like, actually, why don't we dig this a little bit deeper? Because I think it's a worthiness issue. So like, yeah, you could change the way you talk to people on the phone, or you could actually handle the worthiness issue, because now people will just feel the difference in you on the phone. So that's why I have the roots showing, is because we have to handle every problem at the root. What is the root cause of this? What is the actual problem? Number 5 is the eagle. I don't know if you can see it very well, but I have an eagle on a broken branch. So I'll handle these separately. I wanted the eagle because I just like the persona of what an eagle is, right? Of freedom, of confidence, of deadly, of just vibrant, of bold, of sharp, of like, there's all these components of an eagle. And I just, when it comes to birds, because I wanted a bird on a broken branch, and I'll get into that here in a second. So it's when I was going to pick the bird, I just wanted this strong, vibrant bird. The next part is the broken branch. Looking back at my childhood, I was worried and scared a lot. Like most of my childhood, I was scared of everything. Literally worried about anything could go wrong. And then as an adult, because I never handled it when I was a little kid, I struggled with it as an adult. And you know, this could then translate into anxiety and translate into stress and translate into all this stuff. But I can't remember if it was either a mentor of mine or a book I was reading that asked the question. They go, why aren't birds scared to land on broken branches? I'm asking you right now, why are birds not scared to land on broken branches? Because if they land on one and it's broken, they just fly away, because it's no big deal. If a bird lands on a branch that's broken or halfway broken and it breaks when they land on it, they just fly away. They pivot. They go, oh, whoops, and they go get another branch. In this sense, I'm the eagle, and that broken branch is worry. Old Jared lets anxiety get too much, lets that acorn of anxiety and worry, thoughts that would cause me to worry, into big trees, right? So for me, the broken branch is a reminder that like, there's no reason to worry. There's no reason to be scared. There's no reason to extrapolate in things that could happen. You know what I mean? Because in this case, no matter what I do in my relationship with my wife, in my business, in my health, anything that there is, if I land on a broken branch, it's fine. I'll pivot. I'll just go to something else. It's no big deal, right? If in my marriage something comes up, it's like, okay, well, we'll handle it, right? We'll get through it. If in my business, let's say my business takes a hit, it's okay, because I'll pivot and change. It's in my body. Like a year ago, I tore my meniscus and I was out of training for 6 months. It's fine. I pivoted. I handled things that accordingly as they came. And I think too often we have a tendency as people to prepare for the worst case, but expect the best. But that doesn't exist. Those go against each other. I just know for me, what I would struggle with from like an inner child perspective is worry and fear and survival mode mechanisms and survival mode emotions. But like, I view it just as a bird landing on a tree. It just pivots and flies away. So there's no need to worry. Have more faith in myself in that case. That's why this is a very, very personal tattoo. And number 7, the last piece is the axe. So I don't know if you can see it, but there's an axe stuck into the base of the tree. So what happens is, the reason that I have the axe stuck in here is because the axe represents my mind. If your goal is to chop down a tree, can you do it with a dull axe? Absolutely not. Or if you can, it's gonna take way more effort and way more time and way more headache than it ever needed to be. But if you have to go chop down a tree, you're going to sharpen your axe or go get a sharp axe. Well, I know no matter what I'm tackling, in this case, the tree represents, whether that's a physical goal, whether that is my relationship, whether that is my business, whatever the goal is in front of me, we'll call it chopping down the tree. I have to make my axe sharp as can be. Because again, how many times do we approach things with like your headspace off, with no confidence, with no happiness, with no resiliency, with no clarity, with no anything? You can't attack anything like that. Attack your relationship with doubt. Attack your business with worry. Attack your going into battle without confidence. You can't. Or if you do, it's gonna suck a lot more. So the axe represents sharpening the mind, but specifically the axe blade is, I have to keep this sharp no matter what. Because again, it goes back to you're growing or dying. So those are the 7 meanings within my new piece. Because at the end of the day, this is an anchor for me. This is a positive trigger. We all know what it's like to get triggered negatively. But imagine if you had something you saw every day, multiple times a day that triggered you, but positively. You hop on social media and you get triggered negative. You open the news and you get triggered negatively. You open your cell phone and you see a message from a friend and it's negative triggers. You can create positive triggers, right? You know how many times I see my tattoo every day? And it's just positive trigger, positive trigger, positive trigger. I have my other tattoo over here. It's a gratitude. It just says gratitude on my forearm. And now I'm just more of a grateful as a person every time I move, because I see that and I instantly go grateful, grateful, grateful. In the world we live in, there's a lot of negative triggers. So this is why I wanted to take it on myself to put a bunch of positive triggers in my life. I'll do another video in the future of all of my positive triggers and anchoring mechanisms, but this tattoo is one really big one. So that's the meaning behind it. All right, guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, be sure and subscribe. It would mean a ton to me. And this way you'll be notified as soon as I come out with new videos. But otherwise, I'll talk to you next time.